Just like that, we find ourselves at the penultimate road to the White House before the US election with a week to go, just over a week to go. It's a big old moment.
Road to the White House with Darryl Morris. What a total loser with a very strange name. On Weekend Early Breakfast on Talk Radio.
President. It was a matter of time before the insults started rolling in, wasn't it? Let's be honest about it. So let's get back onto the road to the White House with Talk Radio's election coverage. Thanks to Betfair. Greg Swenson from Republicans Overseas, Edward Hardy from The Hardy Report joins you as ever. Good morning, chaps.
Good morning,
Darryl. Good morning, Ed.
Thank you for being with us. So we start, of course, with the final presidential debate Thursday night in the United States of America. A much more subdued affair, I think it's fair to say, with much more on policy. The two candidates, Donald Trump and Joe Biden, clashed over the coronavirus, over race issues, also trading exchanges on corruption and bank accounts. Let's get a bit of a flavour of how it went down.
He says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it. You folks home will have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning. That man or wife going to bed tonight and reaching over to try to touch out of habit where their wife or husband was, is gone. Learning to live with it. Come on. We're dying with it.
The kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening, and it should have never happened. And I think you owe an explanation to the American people.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money. He doesn't want to talk about the substantive issues. It's not about his family and my family. It's about your family. And your family's hurting badly. If you're making if you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires, they're bald because we have to wait another month or so.
That's a typical political statement. Let's get off this China thing, and then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk about
I'm not
North
a typical
Korea
politician.
Okay,
that's why I got elected. Let's get off the subject of China. Let's talk sitting around the table.
All right.
Come on, Joe, you can do better.
We're going to talk about North Korea now.
He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked about his good buddy who's a thug, and he talks about how we're better off. And they have much more capable missiles, able to reach U.S. territory much more easily than ever did before.
You know what, North Korea, we're not in a war. We have a good relationship. You know, people don't understand. Having a good relationship
Trump,
with leaders of other countries is a good thing.
We have a lot of questions to get to.
That's
Your
like
response.
saying we had a good relationship with Hitler before he, in fact, invaded Europe, the rest of Europe. Come on.
I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark, but I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
Okay, Vice President Biden, let me ask you very quickly, and then I have a follow-up question for you.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history.
So, a bit of a flavour of the debate on Thursday night. There was no shortage of blows traded, but it was a little bit more subdued and a lot calmer. Greg, let's start with you. We did see a slightly different Donald Trump this week. Perhaps less feisty, much fewer interruptions than his first debate with Joe Biden. Is that an acknowledgement that his tone in this campaign and potentially during his time in the White House has been off-putting, that it hasn't really worked?
I'm not sure about whether it's worked for the 4 years. I can assure you that he toned it down from the first debate. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I think that he got some good advice, and the campaign realized. I think everyone realized that the first debate was the debacle. So he definitely toned it down. I think he stayed on script. The mute button probably helped him more than it hurt him, because he allowed Biden to talk, which is what really he should have done in the first debate. As Napoleon said, if your enemy's making a mistake, don't interrupt him. And I think that was well done in this debate on Thursday night. It really ended up well for the president. He definitely won on points. He wasn't going for a knockout blow, because I think that would have been a mistake. And I think he would have been tempted to get into the brawl again like he did in the first debate. So
It's interesting you would say that though, Greg, because at this point in the campaign with him, I mean, we can debate about the polls until we're blue in the face, but as it stands, the sort of consensus is that he is currently behind in this election. In ordinary times, that would mean that the candidate would absolutely need to land a knockout blow in that final debate. But you said that he doesn't need to.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that, but I just think it would have been a mistake to try, because that's a dangerous game. There's a risk that you end up looking foolish, or you're looking obnoxious. So he did a really good job. Is it too late? Maybe, but the momentum is great. He had a great week this week. He had a great week last week.
So there's more.
He's sort of fitting with the momentum.
Sure. So there's more risk in the effort, I suppose, is what you're saying there. And Ed,
you don't want to look desperate, but
sure.
At the same time, he called out the Biden campaign, or he called out Biden on some of his lies and some of the obvious flaws in their policies, which I thought was great, because we didn't get any of that in the first debate.
Okay, Ed, a similar issue for Biden here, in that that actually would have been very helpful for him, wouldn't it, to have landed a knockout blow? He didn't, and there's an obvious reason why he didn't. As the person who is currently the front runner, I suppose, he's wanting to play it a little safer. Is there a risk, though, Ed, that at this point that sort of safety first approach is starting to look a little bit like weakness?
Just before we dive into that, can we say that if anyone thought that was a disciplined Trump, it just shows how much Stockholm syndrome we've got over the last few years, because compared that to any normal president, and you would have been disappointed with the performance that they did and described it as undisciplined due to the amount of falsehoods that were spread. But that was a debate. It won't change anyone's mind, though. Joe Biden held his own. He needed to land a few blows. He got some great attack lines in. He managed to highlight some of the issues that have existed in the Trump presidency, talked about the failures on coronavirus, but he actually presented a plan. And that was what people wanted to see there. Donald Trump might have sounded better, but there was nothing there. There was no humanity. There was no empathy when they talked about
the favorite word,
immigration
empathy.
issue. There was no presidential image. And Donald Trump lied his way through that debate. The first line that he said when he stood up there and spoke at that debate about coronavirus deaths was false. He misrepresented the pandemic from the start in a number of ways at a time when people need serious leadership on it. And he said that coronavirus was going away at the exact same time that America was hitting a new single-day record. So,
but in terms
Greg might be happy that Joe Biden spoke a lot through the debate and talked about his policies there.
Ed, the differences and the accusations are well documented between Trump and Biden and between you, Edward, and Greg as well. But on the issue of Biden, did Biden not need to step up to the mark here and offer a knockout blow? And does this sort of safety first, cautious approach, when, by the way, Donald Trump is going to spend the next week and a bit out on the road, several visits per day, several rallies per day, is Biden going to potentially look quite weak in the next week or so?
Well, I think he did hit some absolutely devastating blows on Trump during that debate. He is xenophobic, but not because he shut down access to China, reminding people of the racist and xenophobic policies we've seen over the last few years. Talk about Joe Biden's closing message, that he's running as a proud Democrat, but he's going to be an American president. He doesn't see red states and blue states. He sees America. That's a unifying message. And what Joe Biden went out there and did is he baited Trump successfully into continue to be this divider in chief that people have seen, which has consistently shown to be damaging to Donald Trump's polling.
Okay.
And so Joe Biden might have not hit this massive knockout blow that all of us in the media would enjoy to watch and repeat and play over and over again. But he did successfully do what he needed to go there. And
so everybody,
and that's what people will see.
Everybody got their message across, I suppose, then is the point. Trump certainly did that, Greg, in terms of the message hammering home his accusations about Hunter Biden. We've had these in the public domain for some time, but the email bit has been in the public domain for over a week now. It's had plenty of time to settle in the mind of America. it is a story, fundamentally that is full of holes and it's full of inconsistencies, but it also doesn't really seem to have shifted much in terms of the way that people are thinking. Isn't it the case that for the sake of Trump and for his campaign here, it feels like the same script rehashed that they used for Hillary Clinton, and the fact of the matter is America just doesn't dislike Biden in the way that they disliked Hillary Clinton?
It's a great point, Darryl. That's the one advantage that Biden has, is he's not as despicable or unlikable as Mrs. Clinton was, and you don't have this massive group of voters who don't like either candidate but went for Trump pretty well in 2016. So you don't have the unlikable nature that you had with Mrs. Clinton. I mean, I think my dog could have beat Hillary Clinton in 2016, but I think it's obvious that Trump crushed Biden in the debate on Thursday night, because the mainstream media and the progressive left have come out saying, oh, he won, but it's not going to affect anybody, or it's not going to move the needle. And that's when I know that they're conceding that he at least had a great victory on Thursday. So that's obvious. In terms of, what it does for the campaign right now, I think that, look, this news was not good for Biden. I thought it might blow over, because it's more, a lot of times these scandals are interesting to people like us on this call, or political junkies, but they don't really care in the rest of the electorate. And that might be the case. But I think that the fact that Twitter tried to black out the news, and Facebook, and then the mainstream media blatantly ignoring it, I think that backfired.
Well,
because the thing's not going away, especially when Tony Bobulinski, came out and basically confirmed that the emails were right. This is money from China, Russia. These are our enemies, or at least our adversaries. And the other thing, Darryl, I'd point out that kind of went unnoticed, Steve Cortez pointed this out the other day. Biden took $700,000 from Penn, the University of Pennsylvania, prestigious Ivy League school, for 4 appearances a year. He doesn't teach a class. He said if he loses the election, he's going to go back to being a professor. He lied so many times Thursday night. I have a list here. It's too long to go over, but he also lied about returning to Penn to be a professor. He's not a professor. He showed up to do 4 ticketed events. He was paid $700,000 or $800,000 to do it. Guess where the money came from? The Biden Center at Penn, which was funded by $70 million from the Chinese Communist Party. That's sleazy.
But again, Greg, I'm hearing this, and I'm hearing this about a guy that America doesn't like you say. The mud there isn't sticking in the way that it's stuck with Hillary Clinton, and also the problem for Donald Trump as well is that he is so mired by his own controversies when it comes to this sort of thing that it kind of almost risks feeling a bit ironic, really. The other I just want to move us on as well, Greg, because there's the FBI investigation to get into as well as the debate, and quite a big moment, really, where the FBI investigation. Go on, Ed.
Can I just dive in on that? Because Greg there mentioned about money and accusations around Joe Biden. And I think what's important to discuss here is the story that came out this week, where there is confirmation of dubious business dealings that have previously been undisclosed by Donald Trump. So instead of talking about this Hunter Biden disinformation campaign that the FBI agrees is a disinformation campaign.
It was the Russians, right? Was it the Russians again? Oh, that's good. That's code. When you say Russia disinformation, that's code for we're busted. Okay.
Greg,
this doesn't help Joe Biden.
I'm not the one saying it. The FBI is saying it. So, if you want to try and discredit the FBI, that's a dangerous road to go down.
Mainstream media, when the mainstream media says it's Russia disinformation, that's code for this might hurt Joe Biden. So we know
the mainstream media isn't saying it. The FBI is saying it.
Of course.
The reason that
they said it was not. Actually, that's a lie. Too.
No, the direction.
Pile them on.
The thing is, Ed, hang on. Sorry, Greg, hang on.
From the Biden campaign.
Ed, they haven't said specifically, have they? Let's just establish something here. So the FBI are saying that there is evidence, so far as they're concerned, of interference and collusion, perhaps not collusion, but interference with Russia and Iran as well, specifically. The point that Greg makes, though, Ed, is that there isn't necessarily concrete evidence that the Hunter Biden emails can be traced back to Russia. That is a point that needs to be acknowledged, isn't it?
Look, I'm not the one that's arguing that it's a disinformation campaign. The FBI is. And I didn't say that it was Russia. Greg tried to put those words
Joe Biden
in my
did.
mouth.
Yeah.
I said it was a
Joe Biden
disinformation
did Thursday
campaign,
night.
and the FBI can tell you the source of it and where they think it is. But what we need to talk about is the fact that the Trump side wants to focus on this to distract from the story this week about Donald Trump's previously unknown bank account in China, where, while there might not be currently an accusation of criminality there is certainly an accusation of hypocrisy, that he has attacked companies and businesses for the exact behavior that he's been doing in China, that he launched a trade war for the exact, to attack the exact reason he was doing business dealings in China, that he lied on that debate stage, claiming that the bank account had been closed. It is not. The Trump organization confirms that it's still open.
All right, chaps, listen, we've got about a minute left. I want to take stock. Okay, all right. Listen, guys, I want to take stock of the final week as it is. It will be our final time together, although I get the sense that this may rumble on for a couple of days, maybe a few weeks after the November the 3rd. Greg, what does Donald Trump have to do in the next week? As it stands, believe in the polls if you want or not, but from what we have at the moment, he is behind in this race. What does he have to do to win the people he needs to win?
Yeah, I think he's got to stay on message. He has to talk about what he did for the economy, what the V-shaped recovery has been so far, which is fantastic. The numbers this week, confirm that. Wage growth has been phenomenal for the very identity groups that the Democrats are typically obsessed with: Hispanics, African Americans, women, people on the lower end of the economic ladder, who've all benefited from the economy.
That's a lot of people to try and win in a week, isn't it?
Sure, yeah, but look, there are some undecideds. I know it's not a huge group. I don't know that there's a lot of persuadables, but it's all about turnout here. And I think that this, the
getting people out, I suppose, and I guess that will be a big thing for Joe Biden as well. In 15
seconds, turnout election.
In 15 seconds, Ed, what does Joe Biden have to do in the next week?
Joe Biden has to stay on the message that he presented at the end of that debate. He's the unifier in chief. He's there going to provide them with a coronavirus plan, a $15 minimum wage.
Okay. Stay on message is the point.
Good luck with that.
Chaps, thank you. Really nice to talk to you as ever. We will do it. We'll return to the road to the White House next week for the final time